They've manipulated everyone. Lied, cheated, played games with hearts and minds. They controlled rooms just by walking into them. But with you, they froze. With you, the devil met their match. Chosen one, they didn't expect to fall. But your light did what no one else's presence could do. It disarmed them. It cracked their armor. Now the very one sent to break you is obsessed with the soul they couldn't destroy. They entered your life like a riddle. Charming but cold. Magnetic but unstable. You couldn't quite read them. But your spirit was alert. Something felt off, but also oddly familiar. You were cautious, but curious. You didn't fall for their facade like others did. You didn't feed their ego. You saw through them, even when they were trying their hardest to confuse you. And that's what broke them open. They've never met someone like you. Someone who doesn't flinch when confronted with darkness. Someone who doesn't run from pain but walks through it, speaks to it, ministers to it. They're used to control. They're used to silence. They're used to power. But you didn't bow to any of it. You stood calmly in your truth, and it terrified them and intrigued them. You were like a mirror they couldn't shatter, no matter how hard they tried. This person wasn't sent to love you. Not originally. They were sent as a test. An assignment of chaos, dressed as desire. And yet, in trying to destroy your peace, they accidentally found their own. Because no one has ever seen them like you do. Everyone else runs away when they see the fire. You walked into it with grace. They thought they could manipulate you, but instead, you made them feel something they've never known. Conviction. You didn't curse them. You didn't expose them. You didn't even fight back the way they expected. You loved them differently, not with naivety, but with understanding. You saw the shadow behind the charm, the pain behind the rage, the trauma. They tried to hide behind that confident mask. You didn't try to fix them, but your presence alone started shaking the foundation they stood on. And now, they're confused. Drawn to you, obsessed with the one soul that didn't fall for the spell. They've hurt others and walked away with no remorse. They've left trails of confusion and emotional destruction behind them. But you left them speechless. They tried to trigger you. You didn't bite. They tried to control you. You didn't move. They tried to ghost you. You grew stronger, and somewhere in that silent spiritual battle, the devil fell in love with the one thing it could never control. Divine light wrapped in human skin. You were never meant to be like the rest. That's why they can't forget you. That's why, even when they're with someone else, they're thinking of you. Because what you carry isn't something that can be imitated. You carry God's favor, God's wisdom, God's protection. You walk in something ancient and holy, and even demons recognize the voice of the Most High when it's speaking through one of His chosen. Now they're haunted, not by your anger, but by your absence, by your strength, by your ability to walk away with your dignity intact while they're still wrestling with emotions they've never had to face. They don't know how to handle someone who doesn't need them, someone who doesn't chase, someone who doesn't play the game. You've become the one that got away, not because they couldn't have you, but because they couldn't reach your level. The very one who was meant to play you, prey on you, or derail your peace is now internally unraveling because of how powerfully you stood your ground. And you didn't even raise your voice. That's what shakes them. You carried yourself with peace, and it burned them more than anger ever could. They don't know what to do with a soul they can't control. This isn't about romance. This is spiritual warfare. What you encountered wasn't just a person, it was a spirit. A broken, deceptive, manipulative spirit that thought it could creep into your space and pull you down. But instead of you losing yourself, they found a part of themselves they never knew existed. And now, they crave your energy like air, because nobody has handled them the way you have. You see, the devil doesn't fall in love with weakness. It becomes obsessed with strength. And you, chosen one, you are a spiritual force they didn't see coming. Your presence disrupts every lie they've built their identity on. Every wall they've put up is now trembling, because someone finally walked in and didn't try to destroy them, didn't try to control them, just saw them, and still walked away with peace. They expected you to scream, to beg, to crumble, but you healed. Silently, powerfully, you transformed, and they've been stuck ever since, trying to figure out what just happened, trying to recreate your presence in people who can't even look them in the eyes. They traded truth for comfort, and now they're realizing truth is rare, and you were it. You were the lesson, the mirror, the wake-up call. You didn't come to stay, you came to shake them at the soul level. And they'll never be the same again. Not because you broke them, but because you were the first to treat them like they weren't broken. You loved what was under the surface. You honored what was buried, and now they're terrified that they'll never feel that again. They'll scroll past your posts, pretend they've moved on, talk to others, laugh, smile, but deep down, they're replaying your words, remembering your tone, missing your energy, because nothing else compares. That's what happens when a chosen one walks away. It's not a breakup, it's a soul loss. And most people never recover. But here's the truth. Your job wasn't to save them. It wasn't to fix them. It wasn't even to stay. Your role was to awaken them, to show them that not everyone is for their destruction, to remind them, even for a moment, of what purity, light, and divine love feel like. And whether they grow or not, heal or not, change or not, they will always remember the time they crossed paths with someone who carried heaven in their eyes and strength in their silence. You did what no one else could. You handled the devil with grace. And now the devil is in love with the one thing it can never possess, a soul that belongs to God. They're trying to move on, but nothing feels the same. Nothing hits the way your presence did. They may pretend they're fine, but something in them knows they encountered something divine, something they didn't deserve, and now can't replace. You weren't just another person. You were a mirror to their soul. And what they saw in that reflection was both beautiful and terrifying. Because for the first time, they were fully seen. Not for who they pretended to be, but for who they truly were underneath the performance. That kind of experience doesn't fade. You awaken something in them. And now, no matter how many people they entertain, how many games they play, or how many distractions they chase, they can't shake the imprint your presence left on their soul. You became the standard. Not by trying to be, just by being who God created you to be. Honest, pure, spiritually alert, unshakable. The devil doesn't fall in love with weakness. The devil falls in love with what it can't conquer. And that's you. You didn't just survive their storm. You stood still in it. Calm, watchful, covered by divine protection. They were used to chaos. You brought peace. They were used to pretending. You brought truth. They were used to control. You carried freedom. And now, every time they try to return to their old ways, something inside them whispers, this isn't it. You've ruined the game for them. Because you made them taste something real. They don't understand why they keep thinking about you. Why their chest gets tight when your name comes up. Why your energy lingers, even after months or years. But you do. You know exactly what this is. It's not obsession. It's spiritual consequence. It's the aftershock of divine encounter. They cross paths with someone chosen. Someone spiritually awake. Someone protected, and their soul knows it. They thought they could manipulate you like the rest. But your discernment was too sharp. They thought they could ghost you and come back. But you were already gone. Not just physically, but energetically. They didn't realize that once a chosen one is done, they don't return in bitterness. They rise in silence. You didn't seek revenge. You didn't plot. You just kept walking. And that's what haunts them. They were sent to test you, to tempt you, to see if you would trade your crown for their chaos. But you didn't flinch. You felt the spiritual tension. You saw the red flags. You even felt the pull. But instead of sinking, you prayed. Instead of reacting, you waited. Instead of feeding the war, you chose peace. That's what makes you different. That's why they're obsessed. You don't just talk about spiritual power, you walk in it. And now, they find themselves in emotional conflict. Torn between the darkness they know and the light you showed them. Part of them wants to return, not to repeat, but to relearn. Part of them wishes they could be different. Wishes they hadn't sabotaged it. But here's the part that stings them the most. They know you're not waiting. You've elevated. You've healed. You've moved with grace. And the door they once had access to is now guarded by angels. You were their wake-up call, not there forever. You were the ones sent to crack open what years of pain and pride had sealed shut. And now, if they ever truly want to heal, they'll have to do it without you. Because your mission wasn't to stay, it was to awaken. And you completed that assignment flawlessly.